For those who've already joined, I've linked to our slides in the chat, and you can click on that, and you can see all the information there. So please add questions in the link in the slides that go to the agenda. So we'll just let people read those slides and add questions, and then we'll go from there. The idea of the group conversations is that everybody can participate. So including plan team members, if you wanted to look at the agenda and answer any questions there. Any plan team members that want to answer the first question from your perspective?
I can verbalize it, by the way.
Please do.
So I just wanted to know. I would love any plan team members' perspective on this, because I think I know yours, Victor. But it'd be good for the other attendees of the meeting to hear as well. What's the most exciting thing or things you're looking forward to in the next 3 months for Plan?
Yarka, did you want to say something? I see your... No? I'll jump in. Oh, go ahead, Yarka.
Oh, well, I didn't want to say anything, to be honest. I'm not even 100% sure what's planned for the next 3 months, but yesterday I had a call with Tim, and he told me that we are basically taking over the GraphQL. And I think once we have everything set up and we start really using it, that will be amazing.
Do you mind explaining, Yarka, what GraphQL is? Maybe not everybody on the call knows what that is.
Well, honestly, I don't have a lot of experience with that, but that's basically, well, how to put it simple so that everyone understands.
Efendim? Aldım şimdi.
Sorry?
Şimdi aldım.
Fatih, you're on. You're
caught by the unmute thing when people become present or whatever. Panelist.
Go ahead, Yarka. We just had some noise.
Sorry, I was interrupted. I don't know what happened right now. It's basically a tool that should make API calls easier for both backend and frontend, also their development. It will be nicely documented, and well, that's simply put. We can go more into technical details, but I don't think it's necessary right now.
Right, great. Thank you, Yarka. So it's definitely a technology that will help us go faster, and we're working on. We're going to participate in the plan team is. So thank you for that. I'll add my point really quickly, Eric. Maybe something that's not what you're thinking of. I'm definitely excited for just new team members joining Plan, and how we're a lot of teams we're I don't know if splitting up is the right word, but where each stage is we're hiring more engineers, designers, product managers. So I'm really excited that Plan is in line with that, and we're going to have folks focused on areas of Plan that we've been putting off for a long time, but with the additional headcount, we're increasing scope and focus. So I'm really excited about that. I'm also excited about other things, but hopefully that's something new for you, Eric. Andre, link to GraphQL, thank you. Rachel, different customers probably have different needs for how they use features of Plan. How do you handle issues where there are many alternative ideas? Thank you, Rachel. And I think this question or the way I would respond to this is not different from what we do in GitLab in general. We look at all the great ideas, we collaborate on them. We have, I would say, subject matter experts, whether that's design, project engineering, on specific next steps. So I would say in Plan, we do have a lot of ideas. I guess maybe where that's a little bit different from the rest of the organization is a lot more folks at GitLab use Plan features than say other features at GitLab just by the nature of our feature area. So we have even more ideas. So that's both a benefit and a challenge. It's a benefit because we just have so many great ideas and we can validate them a lot faster because our users are a Slack message away, as opposed to some other features at GitLab where there are a limited set of folks using CI/CD at features at GitLab, and then we have to reach out to other customers. Maybe that's a little bit harder to get feedback. And the challenge, of course, is that because of all that feedback, it's harder to balance. We have to be a little bit more critical in picking and choosing, and we have to spend more time in justifying our decisions, explaining why we're doing certain things. Of course, we follow the same methodology. We write everything down and communicate it, but the feedback is just so much more in your face, as it were, because everybody's using these features. So thank you for that question. Please, folks who are asking these questions, if we're not responding to them adequately, just interrupt us. A lot of people joining Plan Amazing. Are we on track with hiring Plan in Plan? At least on the product side, I think we are. I don't know if engineering folks want to comment.
Yeah.
I know Sean.
On the back end side, we're a bit ahead at the moment, which is good. So we currently aren't hiring any more back-end engineers because come May, I will have 10 people reporting to me. So we've opened up a position for an engineering manager for Plan instead. And once we get them on board, we'll be able to open up the back-end engineer position as well. I've also had a couple of interviews for the product manager position, like interviewing candidates. So it seems like that's in a good state as well. I'm just going to put a link to there's a Google sheet that's got like the targets per month, and you can see that we're at 100% for all of those or above, which is good.
Thanks, Sean. And we currently have 3 UX designers on Plan. I think have the most per stage, and I'll let UXers jump in and say if that's it for 2019. That sounds about right. And then Donald, I don't know if you can verbalize what you're typing if you want.
Sure. Yeah. So on the front end side of things, we're a little ahead also. We have another front end engineer joining us in May. And then the next planned hire on front end is not till August.
Thanks, Donald. And I want to qualify per my understanding, and other folks can chime in if I have it incorrect. We will not once, but at some point we will be splitting up the teams, I presume, in each stage, and definitely within Plan. So where we're interviewing great candidates for product managers within Plan. So I think, I don't know if there's a clear process, but to me it would make a lot of sense once we have those product managers onboarded and working, that will be a great time to divvy up the work amongst the different product categories within Plan. And I assume, different stages would do the same. So excited, at least Plan seems to be on track, if not ahead, and we can start doing that. Mark, we have a lot of Marks at GitLab. Does this?
I can just read it.
Okay, so it's go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, so there's lots of good stuff in there about Jira integration. Curious what the plan or vision is for displacing Jira, or more generally becoming a leader in project management.
Thanks, Mark. Great question. And you mentioned Jira integration, so I think that's really key because there's a nuance there, which is a lot of our customers or new prospects would love to use GitLab with Jira, and they have no intention of getting rid of Jira. And so, at least as a product manager, how I see that is
no intention yet.
No intention yet. Exactly. It's a great lead, right? It's like how we say that our GitLab core is our best competitor, or is a marketing lead. And I would say when folks come to GitLab and they're already integrated with Jira, or they want to integrate with Jira, it's a great lead. And because we get them already using GitLab, and it's even part of our strategy, and I'll link to that. And Sean's already linked to some things there. But I'll link to our direction page in a second saying that's precisely one of our strategies, is to get them to use GitLab because we have awesome merge request functionality, source control. And so they're already using GitLab for those other things. And per our amazing strategy, you get issues there in the navigation. You can click on it and you can use it. So that's one way for our strategy of displacing Jira by just, literally screen comparison, using Jira one moment, and then you're clicking in GitLab and like, oh, this is the same UI. Why wouldn't I want to use, I can create an issue board. There's one created for you already. So thanks for bringing that up, Mark, because I think I should actually write that down, that nuance there. So thanks for bringing it up. But the more obvious answer is, we're emphasizing a lot of features within project management and portfolio management that we're competing against Jira with. Another nuance that I did right now in the direction page, we're not necessarily competing with them head to head only on features. We're very careful to say, for example, John Jeremiah from product marketing pointed me to a great webinar from Jira November, December that was released last year. And they're really focused, Jira, the product is on the new future of hyper integration, being very flexible, plugging into different apps and so on and so forth, which of course we're interested in. But when you see Jira, you don't see a connected strategy with pipelines and CI/CD and so forth. Of course, Atlassian has that, but it's not within the product. And also, even portfolio management, Atlassian has a separate plugin, but it's not within the core Jira product itself. And even when I watched that webinar, which was supposed to be about the future of Jira, they kept talking about new interfaces, simplifying things, but actually adding more features later. So I don't know how that jives with simplifying things. But I can see that the strategy is markedly different from GitLab's, which is we want everything together. And in particular, Plan, it's really about going portfolio management, which was pretty absent in their strategy. So a comparison about going after Jira is limited to project management. We're going after project management as it pertains to portfolio management, and also as it pertains to the entire DevOps of GitLab as a whole. So that's how we're displacing Jira, by not going head to head with project management, but with competing on a different strategy. And I talk a lot, so I'll try to kick it to other. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just jump in really quickly. One issue there, which isn't so much about displacing Jira, but is an issue for us, is that we want to dog food our Jira integration, but because that is a direct replacement for the issue tracker that we also work on in Plan, there's kind of an inherent conflict there, and we haven't come up with a good solution, basically. So if anybody does have a great suggestion, please post it in that issue. Because we don't want to split our work and have two sources of truth. That's going to be really bad. But it would be really nice to actually use this integration more in some context where we actually care about it.
But dog fooding isn't the only way you can get, effective feedback and test cases and whatever else. I mean, we're lucky that our developers are our own customers too, but most companies, that's just not feasible. So, it's okay in this case, we can't use dog fooding as the one way to get that working well.
Thanks, Mark. William, what would need to happen to prioritize adding revision history? So is this William C? I just wanted to know who I'm answering this question.
Yeah, I can just verbalize that. Please. This is an issue that I think is a pain point internally for GitLabbers, but if you look at the issue, it is a highly upvoted community issue. This is the idea of I can edit an issue description, and even if there's a lot of state and important things in there, if I delete something and accidentally save it, I've completely lost that enormous pain point. And so editing and updating issue descriptions can be a very tenuous process. So it seems like a valuable feature to ship. Of course, there's a lot of things that we need to ship. So I'm just curious, what would actually need to happen to prioritize this specific functionality?
Thanks, William. To answer your question directly, we have a timeline on it on the parent Epic. So for some issues that are really further out, I think other product members as well won't put a milestone on it because it's so far out, and we don't want to just set false expectations or have that granularity. So there is a timeline on it. It's later in the year. If you look at the Epic, I believe I'm just looking at it right now, November. So that's pretty far away. So please comment on it if you think that's too far away. I think other product members would also agree with you, William, that that's too far away and that they would love it. So I wanted to give more context in addition to William wanting this feature. A lot of product managers said that, that they would love having this feature to source control a lot of product work or product documentation, like when we're writing our vision and our strategy and we're putting it on, we've had a lot of discussion in the product team. Do we put that on the website in our handbook, or do we put that in issues and epics? And so a big benefit of having it on the website is you can source control it, you can see, you can have conversations, you have merge requests to have that conversation flow, and that's been very helpful. But with if you have it in GitLab and issues and epics, then you can leverage all the great features there of, an issue board, moving things around, connecting it to other issues, and even merge requests and epics, but you can't do the merge request flow of updating a description. So that there's even more use cases there. So my answer there, William, is it's later in the year, and then there's other benefits to other teams as well. We should be careful.
So what would need to happen? So that sounds like the current plan.
Right.
What would need to happen to move that up?
What would need to happen is additional conversation to talk about why it's important, and like just a typical product process. What would need to be happen is you continue to tell me that's very important, continue to comment an issue, continue to collect more data that it is important to you. And what I need to do is have a conversation with you and reach out. So it's not just what you need to do, what I need to do as well. So I will do that, William. I'll put I think you've already told me at once, and you might have already put some comments, but I will put a meeting invite at least in your calendar, or with other marketing folks, and then we can make sure to collect all that feedback.
I wonder if there's a way to identify I feel like there's 4 or 5 of these things that are just like everybody wants, but they're all scheduled for next year or later in this year. I wonder if there's a way to kind of bundle those up and highlight them as ones that would really make a difference to people who use the product every day here at GitLab, and try and find a way, to do them sooner than next year or later this year, at the end of the year.
Well, so Jason, do you mean like, right now we have the internal customer label, we've highlighted them in various places, but are you saying something maybe because plan is a little bit special in that sense, maybe I can add it on the direction page and then maybe socialize that a little bit more?
Yeah, just a way to like highlight the demand for them in another way. Because you're right. I mean, there's so many plan items with the internal customer label now.
Right.
And but some of them are really important and probably pretty small. Like a good example was the parentheses moved. Like
yes, that's a really
anyone could have done that in a day. We had a new hire do that in a couple hours, but it was on the backlog for 2 years. So how do we identify those things and prioritize them more quickly? Maybe is the
yeah, and I think a great point you made, Jason, is it was done in a very short time. So if we can figure that out, instead of just like not just consider the priorities, but consider the cost as well, that adds a level of flexibility in our prioritization. So thank you for that feedback. I will do that. I'll get something going. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess just let us know how we can differentiate those between this kind of like ongoing requests, like the ones that are the most valuable to us.
Right. So what I'll do, Jason, is I will add a note here to the agenda, add a to-do for myself, and then I'll create an issue or something to make sure that we move that forward, and everybody who's watching this can participate there so that we don't get this lost. So
cool.
Sure. We should be careful. As one problem with retaining all data, how do you get accidental deletions we added? Do you want to voice that, IP? Is that in regards to the source control of the data?
No, it's just like in the past I have accidentally added stuff to descriptions that wasn't supposed to be there. And for me, editing was a thing, and I'm reading through the issue. It's really long and old. I'm reading through the issue and trying to voice the concern that if you add accidental stuff, how do you get rid of it, right? Like in the revision history, that's always a problem.
I see. Okay, and is that
it's always good until something bad is in the history? Yeah.
Right. Okay. So is that concern about just typos, or concern about you don't want to show people that you've written?
It's more like you've like accidentally included like your password, or like a token or something in the issue, and then like obviously you can edit it. But like I think we would have to include that as a feature anyway, because otherwise like you can't remove confidential information from an issue after we implement this.
Right. That sounds, and it sounds like a broader problem itself, not that we should excuse it, but I think that's I will create an issue as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
No. Please continue if you have other feedback.
No. That's basically feedback. I think it's a feature, for example, in Google Docs as well, that you can remove something from the history. Yeah. So.
Thanks. Seth, are there specific, Seth, are there specific feature requests that you move towards? Do you mean for GitLab as a whole, like the GitLab team move towards? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I can try to verbalize this a little better than I wrote it. Yeah, specifically, as we start to move as an organization towards continuous delivery, I mean, this question might be sort of hard to answer without a much bigger conversation about how our processes will change for our delivery. But are there things that you're aware of, I guess, that are already sort of in the pipeline that are going to help us? I give one very quick example of like something we've run into recently using feature flags, which is if we're using feature flags and say working on something for 11.9, and then we move past that feature freeze and we kick off the next milestone, but we're still working on this thing, finishing it up, planning to get it into 11.9. In order to like have it on the same board where all the rest of our work is, we're like, well, should we assign it to 11.10, even though it's probably we're aiming to get it into 11.9? I don't know. That's a very specific example that might only be our problem, but I'm just wondering if there's anything you are aware of.
Right. No. Thanks for explaining that. So, is it fair to say it's the continuous delivery? I thought you meant something very specific technically, but it sounds like you're saying something more broadly from a process perspective. And MEC and quality team have been doing a lot of great things with automation. And with the triage packaging, and for example, one thing that they specifically did was move issues all from an older milestone to the newer milestone, so that we have hygiene in terms of a milestone perspective. And so a lot of those things, we have outstanding issues to make those into features inside GitLab. So I will link to that one specifically. So that's one that I remember specifically. There's probably a couple more, but I'll link to that one specifically for now. Again, as we take these questions. So let me write that down. Click the issue regarding moving milestones. Do you believe key value labels are enough for? So Gabriel asked, do you believe key value labels are enough for more traditional projects that uses a lot of custom fields and so on and so forth? So the answer, Gabriel, great question, is we don't know, and that's what we do at GitLab, and we love it. Instead of spending a lot of time spending the engineering effort, the design effort, the product effort to build out all the way to custom fields, as other project management tools have done, we said what is something smaller that we can do and leverage our existing, what the product team is calling small primitives, to advance the product, solve customer problems, and get feedback right away. So it's a really low risk strategy. It's a very effective strategy because we can get feedback right away. We don't have to spend 2-3 milestones before releasing a feature. And in this particular case, we have a hypothesis that if we use key value labels, and for folks who don't know what it is, you can click on that link. Thank you, Gabriel, for linking to it. then you can see that maybe that will suffice. Maybe that will solve 80% of what a customer needs. And then maybe we can iterate on it without creating custom fields itself. So that's our current strategy. And the answer is we don't know, and we don't have to know. And so that's how we do a product at GitLab. And so I think that's why it's great. So I'm just going to bounce around. Will the Agile
I'm going to ask a question to Mark.
Please.
Related to that. So Mark, so you mentioned small primitives in the video with Victor as well. Do you know if that's in the handbook? I couldn't find it, but I was only searching super quickly during this call. If not, I think it would be really cool to add it.
It definitely would be good to add it, and it's been on my list for a while. Yeah, sorry about that.
I think the two words exist, Mark, but so I'll at least find it and link to it. I don't know if it's very detailed, so I'll add it.
Cool.
Or I'll link to it, and I'll probably create an MR and improve it. So I'm giving myself a lot of homework. New small primitives in detail. 4 minutes. Will the AgileCraft acquisition affect our Jira integration strategy? I would say that it only reaffirms our strategy. It only gives us more urgency. We're seeing Atlassian, this is their approach to addressing, like I mentioned earlier, when they're making Jira, inside the Jira webinar, they didn't talk about portfolio management specifically, but obviously they're not living in a bubble. And so they see that they need to go after these markets. And they 2 years ago, they saw that they have to improve on issue boards, and there's a lot of complexity with Jira, and so they brought up Trello. And so to me, as an outsider, outside of Atlassian, my take on it is that they see this amazing, adjacent market about portfolio management, and they see AgileCraft apparently was on the market, and then they picked it up. So it only gives us more urgency to ship our strategy of a single application, in particular for planning, because if you look at the direction page for the plan stage of GitLab, we have we have 3 groups, and one of them is team planning, and another one is enterprise planning. And of course, they come together with GitLab Plan, but those 2 areas at GitLab form one stage and is part of one application. But say for Atlassian, that could be 2 separate products, which they are right now. So it only reaffirms that the market cares about portfolio management in the space of people who are trying to do DevOps, and that there's consolidation. And so it only reaffirms that there's a market need, that customers are perhaps going to Atlassian saying, what's your portfolio management solution? And so when I see that, it only gives us more urgency to continue shipping and going with this strategy. So thank you for that question. Is the Collapser on track for 12.0? I would say so, Mech. We haven't started 12.0. And so I try very hard to be ambitious as we are with shipping or scheduling issues, as we want to have, in our handbook, we say velocity over predictability. So that particular feature is a great feature. We schedule it for 12.0, and I don't anticipate that we're going to push it to a later milestone at this point. So for folks that are interested, I personally would use that feature, or will use that feature. So please feel free to take a look and comment on it if you have anything further. So we have less than a minute, 1 minute in the morning. Thank you. Thank you for all the great questions. I'll do all the homework and add all the links for folks that are interested in following up. And we'll see everybody in the team company call. Bye now.